From Wall Street to Main Street, this is Lalate.
It's a big evening of evenings, LA, with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. As not one, not two, but three major checks have now landed. Have you got to them? I'll show you how to get these big checks tonight. They're for stimulus, and they're huge. Then we'll be turning to developing details across the board as the Build Back Better Act gets a new push, as a recession may be looming on the horizon. I have the latest details on that front tonight. Build Back Better, supported by new economic data, miss after miss after miss. New unemployment numbers, miss. New GDP numbers, miss. Housing industry, miss. Big news for Build Back Better Act, then. We'll go over the latest details on the SS300 as well. Jay Powell trying to raise interest rates to battle inflation. But is he sending us into recession? And how does that impact your SS300? Big news tonight across the board. Then next up, six stimulus, the latest, biggest package you've seen of a generation. That involves Germany, France, the United States, in allegiance to get off of Russian products. That was until Germany says, we love them, we're going to stay on them. Oh boy. Well, the latest details on that front tonight. The oil, wheat, grain, soybean industry going down. Major twists across the board as Vladimir Putin continues his war of aggression against Ukraine. The push at the pump continues to get worse by the day. The President of the United States announcing a major energy policy on Friday, but does it work or does it not work? On the latest indication tonight and what it means for your price at the pump. Next up is the price of wheat and grain continue to surge out of control. That would continue for weeks to come if there's no situation solution coming across the board. Well, the latest details on that tonight from Evenings LA. Then next up is the latest detail of what's going to happen with that Vladimir Putin potential default on April 4th. It's a big question mark across the land. Will Putin default with two principal payments? And what does that mean for the U.S. economy? Meantime, I give you indication of where I think this economy is going and what you need to know across the board. Are we heading into recession or are we in recession? All the latest details tonight with big checks, no less than three of them landing, more checks thereafter, and the question mark of whether Jay Powell's coming in too aggressively on interest rates and sending you into recession or if we are in recession. The details start right now on America's most watched show in prime time for financial news. It's Evenings. And good evening, everybody. Big night across the coast of Santa Monica, California, with big details of financial news hitting internationally. I'm excited you're joining me for this 1 hour special broadcast. Across the next 1 hour, we're going to go over the three checks have now landed. Have you got to them? I'm going to show you how to get them. $6,500 check landed. $15,000 to $80,000 check landed. An MSC checks of $24,000 landed. Over the next 1 hour, I'm going to show you how to get these big checks. Then we'll be turning to Build Back Better that has new economic data today, and it's bad data, signaling that potentially we're going into recession. Bad data means more stimulus. The latest details on that. Then we'll be turning to that SS300 that'll raise your benefits up $300 more per month, not just this month, but lifetime. What is Jay Powell doing and not doing with interest rates? It's brand new tonight, and I'll have the analysis in tonight's recording. Then we turn to the developing details of that 7 stimulus. That is that student loan debt forgiveness coming to a vote on May 2nd. Meantime, what's going on with 6 stimulus? That is wheat, grain, soybeans, oil. And tonight, the President of the United States announcing use of the Defense Production Act. But is it for 6 stimulus or is it for something else? Meantime, what did Germany do? Did Germany turn its back on us on the 6 stimulus package? The latest details on that and what farmers are doing, what wheat and grain is going on, and what oil is doing. You can't afford it. But is it coming down or is it going higher? It's a big broadcast, and over the next hour, we have big money for you. But first, we're going to start with the Build Back Better bill. It is the fourth stimulus recon. It is currently in the Senate and has $15,000 to $80,000 of checks in there when it becomes law. Let's go over those credible checks. 3 clusters and 3 add-ons with a big surprise on one of those checks tonight. That first cluster of checks has hazard pay. One more year of the earned income tax credit. Wow. That was established under third stimulus, broadened, and now one more year under fourth stimulus, Build Back Better. CTC, which is the check for the young children, continued one more year in this proposed bill. $3,600 for those children. Then they got $4,000 of elder care checks in there, $4,000 of care for young children checks in there. They got nutrition checks in there. Plus, for my college students, congratulations. $550 checks for you in there as well. And then if you like an electric vehicle, $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Plus, in that final item of that first cluster, they got home repairs if you live in a low-income community. Huge. The first add-on of checks comes from the shores of Santa Monica, California, a little bit less than $25,000. Maxine Waters got that check in there that'll provide money to you at the time of escrow from the federal government in your name to the seller for the purchase of your first home. OMG. Yes, you heard me right. That is incredible. Now let's turn to the second add-on of checks, second cluster of checks, which gets even better and has a major surprise tonight across the land. The second cluster of checks features paid leave. Wow. Paid leave is a lot of money, folks. And how much is it? That paid leave involves anywhere to $46,000 a year. What is paid leave? It is to provide money if you have to take home to sickness or illness for you or a family member, the household included. How much does it pay? W-2, 1099, you get it. If you make $70,000 or more per year, you get about $1,700 a week. If you make $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week. And if you make $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. W-2, 1099, you get it. Huge sums of money across the board. $46,000 a year. And if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work, they get the check. In that second cluster, we also have in there home repairs to weatherize your home. Hold up. Big surprise there tonight on evenings. The President of the United States took that check out and made it law. Made it law that weatherizing your home check from the second cluster of the Build Back Better bill that is not law is now law because the President of the United States took it out and made it law by executive order. It is the first of three checks. It's the A check in this list that we're going over later in this recording. A $6,500 check that was supposed to be for weatherizing your home in the Build Back Better Act second cluster has now been taken out. And the president, by executive authority, made it law March 31st. Wow. We're going to go over that big check in just a second. But now let's turn back to the other checks that are in the Build Back Better bill. Not law yet, but still in the Senate. Those huge checks continue to grow. Let's look at then the big second add-on of checks, a little bit less than $250 billion for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Got it in there via Bob Casey. Let's go to the third cluster of checks in the Build Back Better Act. Here we go. Seniors checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, free internet for all checks, and then lots of checks for seniors, lots of them. First, dental, then then hearing, then vision, then lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, then the Medicaid gap fix, providing a workaround plan in 12 Republican holdout states that did not provide you insurance, which is par for the course for senators adding checks to the Build Back Better Act. The other checks that they would add into Build Back are MSC. MSC. That in this case stands for monthly IRS stimulus check. This is Build Back Better bill, not a law, and how much would those checks be? Let's go over what the legislators represent to the viewership of this channel. They would pay out the same as a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it, double it. Family of four, you get as well, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, rural benefits, veterans benefits, you get it as well. It is not income. It's not taxable. It lands by a direct deposit if that was what was on your tax return. Otherwise, in the mail. And then how much does it pay? Let's go over all the details of those payments right now. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. That, my friends, is the Build Back Better bill. Bill, not a law. In the Senate, yes. But great news tonight, as the President of the United States takes 2 provisions out of the bill and makes it law tonight himself. A $6,500 check has been made law by the President of the United States on March 31st, 2022. It was the Weatherizing Your Home grant check of Build Back Better. It has now been taken out and it's now law. It's landed. We'll go over that check in just a second. Then the president then took a $15,000 to $80,000 check out of the Build Back Better, made that law March 4th. Viewers have got it. How do you get it? Stay with me. It's coming up in a second. And then C, an MSC check. Well, Build Back Better has an MSC check, but there's other MSC checks that viewers are getting. How do you get these 3 checks? Stay with me across this 1-hour special report tonight. I go over each of these checks and how you get them. Huge details coming up in just a little bit. The push for SS300 is dependent upon inflation and also interest rates. Why? Because Jay Powell, his job is to reduce inflation by raising interest rates. And those interest rate raises may come too aggressively and may impact your SS300. Let's go over the details tonight. SS300 was a Joe Biden campaign promise and then a presidential platform at joebiden.com to swap your COLA for inflation. What is inflation? How high is inflation? It's currently tracking at about 8% December 2021, 8% January, 8% February, may actually be even higher tonight. I've been predicting that inflationary rate since last year. Now, Jay Powell's job is to reduce that inflationary number. If Joe Biden made that swap from COLA to inflation right tonight, your benefits would be raised up about $200 more per month. Not just this month, not just this year, a lifetime, because 8% inflation is about $200 more per month. Now, Jay Powell on the other side is trying to reduce that inflationary number of 8% down quickly. And if Jay Powell reduces it too quickly, then you don't get it at 8%, maybe 6% or 5%. And that's not $200 more per month. It's $175, it's $150. So you want your President of the United States, Joe Biden, to make that swap for COLA to inflation right today by picking up the phone and calling the Social Security Administrator, say, hey, swap that COLA for inflation today before this guy, Jay Powell, reduces it too quickly. We have a lot of breaking news on this front tonight, and it hits starting right now. First, analysts now believe, and I agree with them, and this is the consensus of Wall Street, that Jay Powell will have 2 more interest rate spikes, and the next 2 will be half basis point. Wow, that is aggressive, and that will bring down inflation pretty quickly. Let's go over the analysis. Jay Powell gave us guidance back in February that he's going to do a 1/4 basis point weaker to bring down inflation. And then he did that in the March FOMC meeting. But then a week later, he said maybe I wasn't strong enough. After governors underneath him, Fed governors, Bullard and Wallace, said, you were weak, you need to do stronger. And he said, maybe I'll do a half basis point. Well, the consensus right tonight is that Fed governor and Fed chair Jay Powell want to do half basis point for 2 more FOMC meetings. This is big for your SS300 because guess what happens? 2 interest rate spikes at a half is more aggressive and your inflationary rate would drop dramatically. That would not be SS200. It would be SS175 or 150. That is why you want Joe Biden to make that swap for COLA to inflation right tonight before inflation comes down too quickly. That is the situation tonight. Now, new developing details on both Build Back Better bill tonight and that SS300. And what is that breaking news? The breaking news is that the economic data released in the last 24 hours and the last 7 days is weak. What do we mean by weak? When you're looking at economic data, you have predictions before it's released. Let's say it's how many jobs were created last month. And the prediction was 10,000. And let's say it came in at 20,000. That is a beat, meaning it came in stronger. It came in more aggressively than anticipated. Let's say we're looking for 10,000 jobs created and we only got 8,000. That's a miss. Well, the economic data, folks, in the last 24 hours and the last week has been miss, and more miss, which means that good news for Build Back Better, good news for SS300. Let's go with analysis right now. We always understand that the way that stimulus is generated is when you need it and the economy is struggling. The economy is struggling once again. And when the economy is struggling, you need more stimulus. Then, if the economy is struggling, then Jay Powell may not come in as aggressively on those interest rates. And that is good news for that SS300 if Joe makes that swap today, or in April, or in late April, or potentially in May. We'll see in just a second. Let's go over the economic data that came in the last 24 hours on the last 7 days and see why Build Back Better Act now has new support tonight, and so does that SS300. A lot of breaking details across the board. First, on Friday, we had the economic data released about the non-payroll jobs. The April 1st data was a huge miss. Number one, Wall Street was looking for non-farm payroll jobs to be generated at 490,000 for the month of March. Was it a beat? No, huge miss. Came in at 431,000. Then we were looking to see if the unemployment rate fell dramatically. So we want a big drop, like a 20% drop or a 10% drop. It was a miss again, only a 3.6% drop. Okay, there we go. We got two misses in a row. Then we had the GDP, the gross national product, that shows how strong the economy is growing. We are looking at 7.1%, miss again, 6.9%. Then we had the housing starts. How many homes were sold last month, the month before that? Guess what? Number was down, miss. And that is the fourth consecutive month in a row in which those numbers are down. Then the mortgage rate surged to 5%, the highest mortgage rate since the 1980s. Miss, miss, miss. The data keeps on coming on and across the board as the auto industry is slumping dramatically. Auto sales are down dramatically, and that is because consumer confidence down, consumer savings down, miss, miss, miss. So with all that data, what does that mean for you and your money? And Build Back Better and SS300. What it means is you have the big support. Number one, Build Back Better has new support tonight as the economic data continues to miss. The economy is weakening very quickly. Number two, when we look at that SS300, more reason for J Powell not to come in aggressively on that 2.5 basis point increases at those two FOMC meetings because the economy may not be as strong. Who talked about this all weekend long? Well, I did. Who else? Kathy Wood at ARK Investments. She tweeted overnight that if J Powell comes into aggressively at that next FOMC meeting and the economy is struggling, he's not going to look good. I got to tell you, that's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. Now, here is what you do need to know is that despite all that, despite what's happening externally, you need to get every check you can right today. And not one, not two, but 3 checks have now landed, and I'm going to show you how to get those checks. They're huge. They're 4 stimulus. They are law, and they have landed. First, let's go over an overview of the 3 checks, the A, the B, and the C. First, a $6,500 check has now landed. It became law March 31st, 2022, when the President of the United States took that Weatherizing Your Home grant check out of Build Back Better bill and made it a law. He made it law by executive action. No vote in Congress, no vote needed. It became law on March 31st. And viewers of this channel have gotten their applications in. You should as well. How do you get the application in? Stay with me. I'm going to go over this check in just a second. Then we have the second check that has become a law, $15,000 to $80,000. Became law 5 weeks ago, folks. It is huge. And viewers have gotten this check, averaging about $66,000 to $80,000. How do you get it if you haven't gotten it? It's coming up in the second half. Then the third check is $24,000 to as high as $150,000. This, my friends, is an MSC check. Became law in 2021. How do you get these big checks? You become a member. That membership newsletter comes out tonight right after this video. Become a member. That membership newsletter is delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Central via YouTube alerts. Become a member during the commercial break, and we will be back with each of these checks one at a time. We'll look at each individual check and how to get it and what you need to know. Then we'll be looking at that, developing details on that 7th stimulus. May 2nd is around the corner. Will the president forgive student loan debt, and how will he forgive it? I'll lay his details in the big second half. Is stagflation? Is big concerns about stagflation growing as the mortgage industry continues to slump? And are those rising of those interest rates by J Powell sending us into recession, or are we in recession? All the latest details on that. Now, remember, recession was for something else. Yep, you remember, it's for 6 stimulus. 6 stimulus was to prevent recession. Germany, France, and the United States, the trifecta of progressiveness. But is that trifecta tonight just a one-man show of Joe Biden? All the latest details of whether that trifecta has fallen apart. And what did the president say last Friday about oil, wheat, and grain, or what did he not say? And what does it mean for your prices at the pump? It's a big broadcast. And the final minutes of this video, I have my analysis of what the president just did minutes ago. Really shocking. Is it good? Is it bad? Or does it show a lack of focus as Vladimir Putin continues his acts of aggression against Ukraine in month 2 of this war? Then we'll be looking at Anthony Blinken's comments. He's the Secretary of State, what he said over the weekend about the Russian aggression and how the United States is winning. Are we winning or are we not? Meantime, during the commercial break, make sure you become a member to get those incredible checks, because after the commercial break, we're going to go over each of these checks one at a time, and I want you to get them. Stay with me. We'll be back in 60 seconds with all this incredible news as America's most watched show in prime time, Evenings LA, goes into its big second half. But first, my friends, here is a little bit about the community page. See you back in 60 seconds as a big Evenings LA continues from Santa Monica. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues in a big second half of Evenings LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Tonight is a big night, folks. As the President of the United States unveiled last Friday an oil policy, did it work or did it not work? We'll be going over those big checks in the big second half. Get your pen and paper ready. We'll be looking at interest rates and its impact on that SS300 and what J. Powell is doing and what isn't he doing. We'll look at those recessionary concerns. Is a recession on the horizon? Or is it already here? We'll have the latest details on that. Plus, we look at the developing details about 6 stimulus. Off the tracks or back on? A lot of confusing details. And plus, we'll be looking at 7 stimulus and 5th stimulus tonight. It's a big broadcast, folks, and I'm excited you're here. But first, we're going to start with those big checks. Not 1, not 2, but 3 checks have now landed. I'm going to go over all these 3 checks starting right now. $6,500 A check. $15,000 to $80,000 B check, and C check MSC. What's incredible to understand is that these checks are now law. Number 1, they're all law. Number 2, the President of the United States took the first 2 checks out of Build Back Better, made them law by executive action. Number 3, viewers have got to these checks, and they include 4 stimulus. If you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, I got a check for every single one of you. So you're ready with your pen and paper to take notes? You got to bounce, Purple Hawks. Here we go. We're going to go over all the checks, starting with an overview, and then each check one at a time. Let's go over the details, starting right now. 3 checks became law. A $6,500 check called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check became law on March 31st, 2022 by executive action of Joe Biden. Then, a $15,000 to $80,000 check for homeowners for a lot of other things became law on March 4th by executive action by Joe Biden. And then, MSC checks that amount to $2,000 a month for 12 months and upwards of $150,000 became law by Congress in 2021 and now is paying out in MSC fashion. So how do you get these checks? Let's go over each of them one at a time. Let's start with Check A. As we look to Check A, it is a $6,500 check. Well, in some states, they're paying more than $6,500. Some states are reporting they are paying $12,000. The minimum threshold is $6,500. Number 2. Is this a forced stimulus check? It is. Again, this was supposed to be in Build Back Better Act. The president took it out and made it a law by executive action March 31st. Number 3. What is it called? It is called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. It's a grant, meaning it's free money. It's not income. It's not taxable. Would not disqualify you from benefits. And it means it's free money. Not a loan, no credit check. So who is the check for? How do you get it? Let's go over the qualification right now. It's great news. $75,000 less, single individual, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. And then if you're on benefits like Social Security or Veterans Benefits, SSI or SSDI, you can get it. The last income qualification, or the last element of qualification, is that you own a home. Yes. And there you go. You rock and roll. So what is this check for? It's for home weatherization. Here's my guidance to you. Number one, don't worry about the word home. And number two, don't worry about the word weatherizing. Why? The word home is defined in different jurisdictions different ways. So if you're unsure whether your mobile home qualifies, then just go to the application site and apply. And if it's not qualified in that state, the state will tell you. Then, if you're worried about the word weatherizing, don't worry, just apply. Weatherizing is defined in different states. For example, in California, there's no tornadoes. In other states, there's no hurricanes. Don't worry about the definitions. Just get that application on file. Again, that is $6,500 checks to weatherize your home. And then finally, how do you get this check? You want to become a member. Become a member right today. That newsletter goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. And when you become a new member, it's in the newsletter right at the top. The first line of the newsletter features the oil, wheat, and grain prices tonight. And then the next line of the newsletter is this, the $6,500 home weatherizing grant details. In those details, it'll give you a link, and that link will send you a website. Do you apply for the grant on a website? You do. It'll send you to a national website. You then click the link for your respective state. Let's say it's Alabama. And then under Alabama, you look for the Alabama Weatherizing Homeowners Grant Check. That's actually what's called. Mississippi, the Mississippi Weatherizing Grant Check. Very easy, and you apply online. All in the membership newsletter, and congratulations to the people who've got to their applications on file. Let's turn to check number B. B looks a little bit like A, but it's a lot more money, and the difference has been law for 5 weeks. It will run out of money, so you don't want to wait. You want to wait to become a member. You don't wait to become an app to get your application on file, because guess what? The routing times of these checks get slowed down as more time goes on, because thousands of people have got an application on file. They're in front of you in line. You're further back on the line. That's why you want to become a member right away and get that application in right away. So let's go to that second check, $15,000 to $80,000. That second check looks like A, but it's different. It's B, $15,000 to $80,000. Number one, average view of this channel is getting somewhere around 66 to 80,000. They're getting on the high end. Number two, it is again another forced stimulus check made law by Joe Biden. Took it out of Build Back Better. And number three, it's called the Homeowners Grant Check, not just for weatherizing. If you open the membership newsletter, it features the complete name. Next, income qualification, it's the same as A. Single individual, 75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, 150,000 less, you can get it. And if you're on benefits like Social Security and Veterans Benefits, you can get it as well. So how do you get this application? Well, you open that membership newsletter again, and this one is below A in the membership newsletter. It says the homeowner's grant includes things like home repairs, which you want, more than just weatherizing home repairs, any type. And you click the link. It'll send you to a map of the federal government, of the whole United States, run by the federal government. Then you click your respective state. Let's say the state of Alabama. You click that state, and then it sends you right into Alabama's application. You apply, and you get it in. It's an online application. When you get it in, it'll say complete, and then you get paid about a week later. Incredible, great news. And there you go. That is check A and check B. Now, as I said earlier in this video, folks, I got a check for all of you. Renter, homeowners, homeowner, renter, I got something for all of you. If you're a homeowner, you can get check A, B, and C. That's and A, B, and C. And if you're a renter, get ready, because here comes your check. It's C. C is an MSC, baby. And while Forced Stimulus proposes MSC checks of 6 months, totaling $7,000, average view of this channel has gotten from these MSCs about 24 to 45,000. Many viewers have gotten over 150,000. That's just a little bit more than Build Back Better's MSCs. So let's go over the check number C right now. Take notes if you're a renter or a homeowner. First, how much does it pay out? Average viewers of this channel is getting $2,000 a month for 12 months. That's $24,000. Many viewers are getting $45,000 from this last year. That was what they were averaging. And we have a lot of viewers who have gotten over $150,000 of MSC checks. Next, when did this become law? In 2021. The third stimulus package, number 3. What's the income qualification? Same as A and B. Single individual, 75,000 or less, you can get it. Married couple, 150,000 or less, you can get it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, senior benefits, get it. This is for you as well. So how do you get this check? This is different than A and B, where you're going to a website. For check C, you're going to your phone and picking it up and making a phone call, because these checks require a phone call, not an online application. You get the checks by making the calls. And so where do you make the calls to? Let's go over all the details right now. You're going to reach out to 6 places: your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. Plus, you're going to reach out to your state hall and your state housing authority. That's if you're not a member. If you're a member, you got 6 other places to reach out to on top of that. So that is why you want to become a member, because you'll have more places to reach out to than even that. That's the big difference when we're looking at getting these MSCs. Let's continue what you need to do. You want to say the key words: rent assistance because of COVID, utility assistance because of COVID. Remember, you don't say other words. You do not say, I want my MSC check. No, you say those key words: rent assistance because of COVID, utility assistance because of COVID, or mortgage assistance because of COVID. Next, you get multiple applications on file. So you don't just apply one place and stop. And you don't get one no and stop. You get lots of applications on file. That's the benefit of being a member, because if you're a member, you get more places to apply to. Members get about 5 to 6 additional places. That's the value of membership, because those nonprofits are those extra 5 to 6 places. And those nonprofits pick up the heat and pick up the funds where your state may not have the funds. I've been doing this since 2020. As this channel approaches its 2-year anniversary, April 25th, 2022. Every state's got money, folks. Every state has money when you include the nonprofits. Go get those big sums of money across the board. Then get these big monies, because they're averaging about $45,000 and $2,000 a month over the last few months, 12 months, as an MSC. Get these big checks today. Do not wait. You deserve them. Get these big checks tonight. And that, my friends, are the 3 checks. Let's recap those 3 checks and then go over the newsletter. Check A, a $6,500 weatherizing your home grant check, became a law March 31st. A forced stimulus check. It is landed. Check B, also a forced stimulus check, became a law by Joe Biden weeks earlier, now 5 weeks ago. $15,000 to $80,000 homeowners grant check. And the third check, check C, a MSC check from third stimulus, averaging $2,000 a month for 12 months, and a lot more for many viewers. A 2021 third stimulus check. So how do you get these checks? You want to become a member right tonight, right this very moment. And how do you become a member? You go to the front of this channel, or under the description of this video, or at the top of the chat, and click the link to become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Then get ready to get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. Delivered via the YouTube alerts. To make sure all your alerts are turned on, go to the front of the channel. You'll see a bell. Subscribe. Then make sure the bell is set to all alerts, so you get alert about this video, all of tonight's videos, and then you get the 7 p.m. newsletter tonight, Monday through Friday. Get that incredible newsletter and go right in there. And if you're a homeowner, apply for A, B, and C if you qualify. If you're a renter, go then right and apply, get that C by making those phone calls tonight. And there you go. That is the value of membership. Now let's go over the other developing details tonight, and a lot of it. Huge details across the board. First, when we look at the situation unfolding about interest rates, what is being said tonight about J-Powell and those interest rates? A lot is being said, and the collective statement that I'm going to go over more in this recording is that J-Powell may be coming in too aggressively on those interest rates. And if he is, he's going to send us in recession. That he cannot choose between recession and inflation. And if he chooses to bring down the interest rates, he's going and bringing us into recession. I think tonight we already are in recession, at least with 2 industries. I'll have that analysis later in this video. Meantime, we have good news about that Build Back Better Act, as there's a new push by Manchin and others to get it done, because the economy may be starting to stall up, and that is why Build Back Better Act is heating up once again. What about fifth stimulus for Social Security reform? Nothing being drafted yet, but you want it because remember, when we talk about that SS300, that's just raising your benefits up. You need a bill, a law, to end the marriage penalty, to end the income cap, to end the asset cap. You need an actual law, and that's what fifth stimulus proposes to do. Now let's turn to developing details about sixth stimulus and understand what sixth stimulus is. Sixth stimulus heated up in week one of the invasion of Ukraine. Sixth stimulus is unlike anything you see on this channel. First stimulus was for COVID. Second stimulus was for COVID. Third coming out of COVID. Fourth coming out of COVID. Fifth for seniors. Seventh for student loan debt forgiveness. But sixth, boy, the largest stimulus package you've seen of a generation. That largest stimulus package involves keeping our economy and our partner allies' economies out of recession. How did it come to be, and where is it tonight? It came to be when week one of the invasion, Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, reached out to Germany and France and said, get off of those Russian products like oil. That's what he said, and they initially said no. Now understand who Germany is. Germany does not usually subscribe to our economic policies, so it was no surprise when they said no. But was a surprise, it was about a week ago, they changed and they said, yes, we will get off of those Russian products. At that point, we had a trifecta lined up for sixth stimulus. Germany, its chancellor, progressive, and then France. It's President Macron, progressive, and Joe Biden, of course, progressive. The progressive alliance or trifecta, those three countries involved, a sixth stimulus package by deficit spending to provide a stimulus to their citizens. Why? To get off of those Russian products. No citizen in Germany or the United States can afford price of gasoline at its current levels into May. We go in recession. No one can afford the price of a loaf of bread now. We go in recession. And that is why they give you money to keep you out of recession. That was then. And then what happened last week? A major change of events. Germany suddenly said, you know what? We're not getting off of Russian oil. We'll go into major economic meltdown. So did the sixth stimulus fall apart internationally or just in Germany? For purposes of tonight's recording, it looks like it just fell apart for purposes of the partner allies. The White House still seems to do it, and perhaps Macron. And Germany could still come back on point, but tonight, the situation is very fluid. Let me tell you where we are tonight. Remember what sixth stimulus is for. It's to keep this economy out of recession by dealing with the situation unfolding about oil, about wheat, about Vladimir Putin, and about big potential meltdown of the economy. Let's go over situation number one and what's going on for oil tonight. The situation of oil tonight is that the national price of gasoline at the pump, according to AAA, is still hovering around $4.24. The price of international Brent crude for oil is still high, and that comes as the President of the United States announced a policy last Friday. What happened with that policy last Friday? Let me tell you the details across the board. What happened with that policy last Friday is that nothing changed up and that the president really didn't get it right. Let me tell you the details tonight. The president last Friday said, I have a solution to reduce your price of gasoline at the pump. And so what did he do? He said, I'm releasing part of the strategic reserves. What are the strategic reserves? Those are the gasoline barrels the United States owns. And when you release some of it, you potentially are trying to bring down the price of gasoline. So what did the White House say? We're going to release 1 million barrels of the strategic reserves every day for 6 months to bring down the price of gasoline at the pump and to give you the lower price of gasoline you had hoped for. Does it work? True or false? False. It doesn't work. Let me tell you why. The way gasoline works is that when there's a shortage internationally, the price goes up. So if you flood the market just in one country, not internationally, and you alleviate the shortage in one country, not internationally, the price doesn't go down. 50 countries, let's take for example, they're suffering a shortage across 50 countries. The price of gasoline is determined across 50 countries. It's not determined across one country. When 50 countries have a shortage, they have a shortage. If one country, the United States, says, I'm going to increase our oil domestically, but the rest of you deal with it, then guess what happens? Nothing. Gasoline doesn't come down because one country releasing extra oil doesn't bring down the price of gasoline internationally or domestically at all. You have to flood the market across all 50 countries. You have to end the supply shortage across all 50 countries to bring the price of gasoline down. Now, the president may have understood that because then during his press briefing, he said this. While we're releasing part of our oil from the strategic reserves, we're reaching out to our partner allies to do the same. There's a lot of wrong with this. First, reaching out to them now. Should have reached out to them back in October, because the President of the United States admitted that he had reached out to Janet Yellen back in October, said, prepare for Vladimir Putin of Ukraine. There's 100,000 troops at the border. And that was before Halloween. I was making that recording back then. I said, if they invade, it's a major economic story of 2022. So he told Janet Yellen to look at the oil situation back then. She should have had the allies lined up. But let's take the other part of this president's comment. I reached out to my partner allies to increase their oil production and release their oil reserves. True or false? False. Italy has no oil reserves. Italy has some olive oil reserves, but has no petroleum oil reserves. There's nothing for it to release. How about Germany? How about France? Not enough. Again, they're too dependent upon Russian oil. They don't have a lot of oil that comes out of the ground, and they don't have a lot of oil saved up. So again, this comment, false. Does any of this work? It doesn't work. The situation tonight is that the President of the United States has really not prepared anything accordingly, and that to release part of the strategic reserves domestically doesn't do anything for anyone. In fact, it doesn't do much of anything at all. So where are we on this front tonight? Well, Anthony Blinken over the weekend said that when we look at the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine, it's been all wins for the United States. Really? Has there been a win on oil? No, there's been a loss on oil. Has been there a win on wheat? No, there's been a loss on wheat. Has there been a win on preventing recession? No, there's been a loss on that as well. So where's the wins been? Here's what you need to know, is that the price of gasoline is not coming down at all based upon what the president said last Friday in my prediction. Now, here's what you also need to know, is that the president of the United States didn't mention something else, and you may have been pinching yourself when you heard his press conference because you watch this channel. Whatever happened to that Iranian-U.S. deal for oil we heard about just a week ago? No mention of it. Why not? Because there's no deal. It took me high and low to find the latest details of it. I had to go over to international newspapers and a buried website to find out really what had happened. If you've not been a viewer of this channel for very long, let me tell you what happened about 3 weeks ago. There was an Iranian oil deal that the White House had been 15 years in the making. It's called the JCPOA. And the Iranian oil deal involves the following. Iran had been growing its nuclear warheads, so we had been embargoing, not allowing their oil to be imported to any of our Western allies or us for nearly 15 years. Then, over the last few weeks, Germany and France, on behalf of the United States, negotiating with Iran in Vienna on the JCPOA. The deal looked like it was about done. The deal even had numbers. We even had all the details of the exchange of captured citizens, the release of bank accounts. We had incredible details of what was happening. But here are the numbers for you in gasoline. 1.5 million barrels by December. 500,000 barrels right this week. Dropping gasoline to its lowest price levels of a generation. Great news. Great news until the President of the United States addressed the American people last Friday and made no mention of it. What happened? Well, I had to look high and low, and I found it in a buried oil website that said EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says, sometimes you think there's a deal done and then other days not. The JCPOA is not getting to an end, says the quote. It would be a shame not to reach some sort of agreement when we're so near to reaching one, but I cannot guarantee we have an agreement. There you go. That was the deal to reduce the oil. That was the deal to flood the oil with the international markets. No deal. Wow. Tonight we have a lot of breaking news on something else as well, and I have big commentary on this front tonight. I've been telling you since week one of the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine that if we're not talking about oil, if we're not talking about our oil, if we're not talking about our partner allies' oil, we need to be talking about, yes, commodities. Because commodities are the real recessionary cause of that invasion. When Vladimir Putin went right to the Black Sea region of the eastern section of Ukraine and targeted Odessa, I was immediately concerned week one of the invasion. Why? Because this area, folks, is fertile soil, and it's the area that supplies most of the wheat, grain, and corn to the entire region, all the way to Asia, all the way down to Egypt. Egypt gets 80% of its products from Ukraine. Now, it's gone. Those crops are gone in this season because no one's harvesting wheat. They're defending their country. Next season, crops lost because no one's preparing the crops. The season after that, crop after crop, seasons will be lost because they've been cluster bombed. The problem at hand is that where is the wheat going to go if it's not available in Ukraine? Where is the wheat going to go to Italy if it's not available in Ukraine? Where's it going to go if it's not available in Egypt? And here's why the problem is very more problematic. Number one, harvesting wheat is more than just picking the wheat out of the ground. You got to drive the tractor trailer that runs on oil. You have to fertilize the soil with the manure. And guess who's the number one provider of soil manure? Vladimir Putin. Gone. Not part of the equation. The price has gone through the roof. Guess who's the number one provider for oil for those tractor trucks in that area? Vladimir Putin. Price is going up through the roof. What's happening domestically for our farmers? They're losing their shirts. Farmers are selling higher revenue priced wheat. So you go to sell the wheat as a farmer, you're getting higher sale numbers, but the cost numbers are going through the roof because of oil manure. And what does this mean for you? It means that you go to the market and you see a $7 loaf of bread. It was $4 just a few weeks ago. It's going higher because no one has a solution for the oil or wheat or oil or manure for the farmer. It's getting worse. It will continue to get worse, and nothing in Janet Yellen's office has done any analysis about this situation. None of the partner allies have anything lined up. This is so obvious. People cannot starve to death, and people cannot afford a $7 loaf of bread in Italy or in the United States. So this front, very confusing across the board. Tonight, here is my commentary with a news story breaking tonight. President minutes ago announced the invoking of the U.S. Wartime Act. Well, let me tell you what the President of the United States did minutes ago. The President of the United States determined minutes ago that he will invoke the Defense Production Act for something in this situation for an emergency. What U.S. Defense Production Act element is he invoking it for? Electric car batteries. Yes, there's a shortage of batteries and electric cars. But of all the things the President of the United States should be invoking the policy for tonight, that was not the one. When we're talking about the Defense Production Act, the number one thing the President should be invoking it for is getting to our farmers some oil, getting to our farmers some manure, getting to our farmers some products so that they can grow more wheat and harvest more wheat at a cheaper price point, bringing down that price of wheat in the domestically in the United States, flooding the markets to the extent we can, because we do have a lot of farmers per acreage in the United States, bringing that down. Getting batteries for electric cars that are $60,000. Well, later in this video, I'm going to tell you that, folks, the auto industry is in recession already. Auto industry can't sell cars anymore. So I don't know what is going on this front. And I got to tell you, I got more about that later in this video. This shows where the focus is wrong. So do I think six stimulus is going to happen? I think it will, but I think there needs to be a lot of refocusing across the land. Let's turn to seven stimulus. If you hope that six stimulus gets focused, let's hope that seven stimulus gets focused. Seven stimulus, where is it tonight? This is your student loan debt forgiveness. The president has three options. These are all outlined by his chief of staff, Ron Klain. That's the good news. I'm not coming out of taking this out of a genie in a bottle. The president's chief of staff, Ron Klain, says the president has three options. Number one, all your debt has not had to be repaid during this pandemic because of a freeze. Well, that freeze is ending when? May 2nd. There we go. And so the president has three options. Number one, do nothing, and May 2nd say, start paying me back money. Number two, do something, but not yet. Say, I'm not sure about this. I'm going to wait off a few more weeks. Give me more time to think about it. In the meantime, you're still frozen. I think number two is possible. I don't think one is at all possible. I don't think one's going to happen. And number three, the president says, I'm going to forgive some student loan debt. There you go. I think 2 and 3 are possible. Why? The education secretary under the Obama-Biden administration spoken out in the last week and says Joe Biden knows he can do this. Why? Because we adopted this law with Barack, where the executive branch has the authority to forgive student loan debt forgiveness. Liz Warren, a lot of people have said that there's legal authority, but now the president's own former education secretary under Obama-Biden says you can do it. Moreover, he says if you try to do it and who tries to unravel it, there's no one to unravel it. You need enough senatorial votes, and neither party really controls enough, so neither party would be able to block it. Just do it, Biden. Just forgive the student loan debt. Liz Warren wants $50,000 of student loan debt to be forgiven. Meantime, tonight, a lot of developing details on six stimulus about your money and about what the president is and isn't doing on all these fronts. Let's go over all the details and also my analysis tonight. When you look at the horizon tonight, there's a series of economic data that collectively looks like recession. And when you see so much economic data, it is very overwhelming. What is the economic data tonight? First, we have the yield inversion curve. The yield inversion curve refers to short-term notes getting a higher yield than long-term notes. If you go to the bank, say, hi, I got $10, I want to put it away. Sir, do you want to put the money away, invest it for 6 months or 60 years? Well, doesn't 60 years give me a higher interest rate? It does, except this week, because we're in a recession. Now it's called yield curve inversion, where a 6-month note will give you a higher interest rate than a 60-year. Wow. That is item number one for a recessionary indication. Number two, the housing industry clearly already in recession. Why? It's ballooning. It is bubbling. It is about a bubble about to burst. It's upside down. People bought into the housing industry in the COVID days thinking, oh, it's a great way to put your money away and stay home and repay the home. Now everything is going to reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive months of home sales down. Home starts down. Number two, mortgage industry up. Highest growth of the 30-year mortgage to 5+% that no one can afford since the 2018 years. This is why no one's buying a home that can't afford the mortgage. Number 2, 3, if you bought the home and you made repairs or wanted to make repairs, or you bought the land and want to build the home, you're losing your shirt because the costs are going through the roof. You have the supply chain problem. You have the labor problem. Everything is then costing more. Takeaway, if you own the home, you may not be able to sell for the profit you wanted. And if you want to buy the home, you may not be buying it because you can't afford a 5% mortgage. Housing industry, in my opinion, is already in recession. Some people say it's in stagflation. I disagree. I think it's in recession. Number 2, the auto industry is in recession. Auto sales are way down. And when I hear these comments by the president to invoke the Defense Production Act for batteries for electric, I got to say, where is Brian Deasy? Because I want to just give him a book and say, study, Brian, because you are absolutely out of bounds on this one. There's so many problems going on with the auto industry right now. It's not just an electric battery. In the case of the auto manufacturers, they have supply chain shortages left and right, even with just electric vehicles. If we talk about gas-powered vehicles all over the place. One of the U.S. auto manufacturers reported corporate earnings today. I think it was the last quarter's earnings, way down. Way down. And what do they cite? Supply chain, not just for electric component parts, a lot of component parts. One of the things I haven't detailed on the channel for several weeks, I detailed it in mid-March, was that week one of the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine, did you know that all the major seatbelts of your U.S. auto manufacturers who sell the cars in Europe are built in Ukraine? Yeah, this has nothing to do with a battery and electric vehicle. You don't have a seatbelt, you can't sell the car. Great, we have a battery, but we don't have a seatbelt. This is why supply chain is very, very big at issue. This is why auto, in my opinion, is in a recession. Auto sales are way down. Everyone buying cars in 2021, now in 2022, not buying it. And auto manufacturers can't ramp up production because they have a limited supply chain. It's just big problems left and right. Number 3, consumer confidence way down. When you talk about recession and people hear the word recession, then they lack consumer confidence. They spend less, and when they spend less, the business makes less. When the business makes less, the business employs less, and eventually they have a hiring freeze. It's growing right today. And then finally, beyond consumer confidence, consumer savings is way down. What is the takeaway tonight is that when you look at the stock market, when you look at the housing industry, when you look at a lot of different industries, a lot of the times what happens is a lot of people were not around when the last event occurred like this, and they think everything is always perfect. People who've been around who saw the last recession understand that when it's bad, it's very bad. And when it hits sometimes very hard. There's a lot of people who are just trading things up, thinking everything is good. Buy more homes, buy more cars, buy. Stocks up, stocks up. Certain stocks will go up, but other stocks will take a plummet. And we're not even to April 4th, which is today, 2022. Vladimir Putin has 2 principal repayments today, amounting to $2 billion. If Vladimir Putin doesn't make those two principal payments, guess what happens? He defaults, but the people who are owed those monies don't get them. And they're likely, including potentially some of the money towards U.S. banks. If those U.S. banks do have that exposure to Russian debt or Russian equities, and they suddenly see a valueless investment, line item 0 when they report the Q2 2022 corporate earnings. And when they do, major problems across the board, not just for that bank, but your local bank, because they're all intertwined. It's nights like this where I see the White House invoking the Defense Production Act to increase battery production in electric vehicle, and I say, good, but you don't have a seatbelt on an electric vehicle. You got a battery to turn it on, but you don't have a seatbelt because no one in the White House understood that the seatbelt supply chain is missing. And then when you see the corporate earnings reports from that U.S. manufacturer, they say, I'm missing 20 parts. I can't sell cars. My earnings are way down. The White House increases production of one part of the car. Yeah, doesn't make a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense, moreover, is the oil situation, the wheat situation, and the grain situation. Those are pretty simple. And those situations need to be addressed very quickly because guess what? We're 4 weeks away from recession. Or are we in recession? Analysts throughout the last few days have said that Jay Powell has it really wrong. In my opinion, I think he does have it very wrong. And I think by the end of this month, you're going to have most analysts saying he has it very wrong. Last year, I told you Jay Powell had it extremely wrong. When I was the only person I know that said that inflation was coming in 8% in December, and Jay Powell says it's going to be 1 to 2% in temporary, I said he's so wrong, and he was wrong. It came in at 8% in December, and that was an inflationary rate that he did not predict. He told you something totally different. He said it was going to be temporary. It was not temporary. Now he thinks he needs to come in more aggressively at a half basis point over 2 FOMC meetings. Folks, I think that is a major miss. And that is what Kathy Wood from ARC said in a tweet over the weekend. She said, I think it's too aggressive if the economy is going to potentially not be as strong as we think it is. I think tonight, folks, I don't think the economy is as strong as it is. And I think those 2 interest rate spikes are a hard landing that this economy cannot endure. Would it send us a recession? It would send us a recession. But tonight, I really do believe that when you look at auto and housing, those 2 industries are already in recession. From there, the recession will grow across other industries if Jay Powell comes too aggressively, 2 half basis points, and the recession will spread domestically, perhaps geographically like the last one did, where the East Coast went into recession first, and the West Coast took almost a half a year to enter recession thereafter. That is how recession hits. And when people have not seen recessions, when people have not seen hiring freezes, when people have not seen where jobs say we're not hiring anyone for the next 2 years, that's an environment you may never have seen. And when you see it, it is very scary. And that is why it's important for you to get every check. The concept of this channel is very simple: financial independence. Getting every check you can get right today at this very moment, at this very hour. That's why it's very important to become a member. Go to the top of the chat in the pinned comment in the description, become a member today. Get that membership newsletter tonight to get these 3 checks if you qualify for 3 or whichever check you qualify for. Become a member right today, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You'll get that newsletter delivered via YouTube alerts, just like the YouTube alert about this video. You'll go right in there, you'll apply for A, B, and C, or whichever one you qualify for, and you'll get those checks. And what I will continue to do, as I've always done, is look for checks when they become live. Announcing the check the day it became live. I announced A on the 31st, I announced B on the 4th, and I announced 24,000 C when it became known as well. That is the true spirit of pouncing and hitting. Because an environment in which inflation, recession is unknown, and people thinking it's stagflation when it may be, in fact, something more than stagflation, maybe recession, you can't wait to cash a check. You want to cash every check you can. And with that, the continuing coverage continues throughout the night. Stay with me. Stay here daily. It's Evenings LA every night at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time from the shores of Santa Monica, California. When there's big financial news breaking, it's on evenings. When it's your money, it's on evenings. And when it's predicting the financial future of the U.S. economy, it's Evenings Lalate.